Have you ever noticed that sometimes the most important person in a championship photo isn't standing on the podium at all? When the gold medals were raised high above the ice and cameras from around the world focused on Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara, millions of people watched history being made. Flashing lights exploded across the arena. Tears filled eyes. The crowd celebrated. The spotlight belonged to Japan's golden pair. But just outside that circle of glory stood a man who almost nobody was talking about. He wasn't wearing a medal. He wasn't standing on the podium. He wasn't giving a victory speech. Instead, he stood quietly in the background, watching with a look of complete satisfaction. His name was Bruno Marcotte. And without him, one of the greatest stories in figure skating history might never have happened. Today, I want to tell the story of the man behind the champions. The coach who spent 7 years believing in two athletes long before the world believed in them. The man who saw possibility where others saw uncertainty. The mentor who helped transform a struggling partnership into Olympic gold. Because every great victory has heroes we never see. And Bruno Marcotte was one of them. To understand how this remarkable story began, we need to go back long before Olympic gold, long before World Championships, and long before Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara became household names. Bruno Marcotte was born in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, in 1974. Growing up in the French-speaking province of Quebec, skating became a major part of his life from an early age. Like many coaches, he first pursued success as an athlete himself. And he wasn't just an average skater. In 1993, he earned a bronze medal at the World Junior Championships as a pair skater. It was a significant achievement and proof of his talent. He continued competing at the senior level with multiple partners and eventually reached the World Championships in 2002. But unlike many legendary coaches, Marcotte never became a world champion himself. At the 2002 World Championships, he finished 12th. Respectable. Impressive. But not the top of the mountain. That same season, his competitive career came to an end. For many athletes, that might have been the end of the story. But for Marcotte, it was only the beginning. Because sometimes the people who never reach the summit themselves become the very people who help others climb higher than anyone thought possible. As a competitor, he understood something many champions never have to learn. He understood disappointment. He understood sacrifice. He understood what it felt like to dedicate years of your life to a dream and still fall short. And perhaps most importantly, he understood pair skating on a level few people ever could. Pair skating isn't simply two individuals skating together. It's trust. It's responsibility. It's fear. Every lift places one person's safety in another person's hands. Every throw jump involves risk. Every movement requires perfect timing, complete communication, and absolute confidence in your partner. One tiny mistake can lead to injury. One moment of hesitation can ruin years of preparation. Marcotte had lived that reality. He knew exactly how difficult it was. And those experiences would later become the foundation of his coaching philosophy. After retiring from competition, he shifted his focus toward coaching. And that's when his true brilliance began to emerge. Over the following years, Marcotte developed a reputation as one of the most respected pair skating coaches in the world. His breakthrough came when he coached Canadian stars Megan Duhamel and Eric Radford. Under his guidance, the pair reached incredible heights. They became world champions. Then they became world champions again. At the 2018 Winter Olympics, they captured gold in the team event and bronze in the individual pairs competition. Suddenly, Bruno Marcotte wasn't known as a former skater who fell short of greatness. He was known as one of the best coaches on earth. The irony was impossible to miss. As an athlete, he never reached the very top. As a coach, he kept sending others there, again and again. Yet even with all those accomplishments, the story that would define his career was still waiting to happen. And strangely enough, it started years earlier than most people realize. Long before Olympic gold. Long before world titles. Long before Riku Miura became one half of Japan's most celebrated pair team. Marcotte first met her when she was only 12 years old. At the time, Miura was competing as a single skater and attended a skating seminar in Japan where Marcotte was working as an instructor. Hundreds of young skaters passed through programs like these. Most coaches would forget their names within weeks. But not this one. Years later, Marcotte would recall the impression she made on him. He remembered seeing something special, something difficult to explain, a spark, potential, a quality that separated her from everyone else around her. At 12 years old, she was just another young athlete chasing a dream. But Marcotte saw something more. He saw possibilities nobody else could yet see. Time passed. Years went by. And then came the summer of 2019. A moment that would change everything. At that time, Japan was already a powerhouse in singles skating. The country produced world-class athletes year after year. But pair skating was a completely different story. For decades, Japan struggled to compete with traditional powerhouses like Russia, Canada, China, and Germany. The Japanese Skating Federation wanted to change that. So they invited one of the world's leading pair specialists to help. Bruno Marcotte arrived in Japan as part of a project designed to strengthen the nation's pair skating program. What happened next would alter the future of Japanese skating forever. At the time, Ryuichi Kihara was facing one of the most difficult decisions of his life. He had already competed in 2 Olympic Games. He had skated with multiple partners. He had experienced success and disappointment. But after another partnership ended, he wasn't sure whether he wanted to continue. The possibility of retirement was becoming very real. Years of competition had taken their toll. The dream seemed farther away than ever. Meanwhile, Miura was searching for a future in pair skating. Neither athlete knew what was about to happen. But Marcotte did something that would change everything. He suggested they skate together. Just once. Nothing complicated. Just get on the ice and see what happens. Then came the moment. A single twist lift. One attempt. One movement. One brief instant. And according to Marcotte, that was all he needed. He immediately sensed something unusual. Their timing matched. Their movements connected naturally. Their chemistry was obvious. There was something there. Something real. Something worth pursuing. Now, it's important to understand how extraordinary that observation was. Pair skating isn't like single skating. You can't simply take 2 talented skaters and expect success. It doesn't work that way. Height matters. Timing matters. Trust matters. Personality matters. Communication matters. Every detail matters. Countless partnerships have been formed over the years by coaches who hoped things would work out. Many of them failed. Some lasted months. Others lasted weeks. Very few reached greatness. But Marcotte saw something in that single moment. A possibility. A future. A partnership that could become extraordinary. Most people would have missed it. He didn't. But seeing potential is only the first step. Recognizing greatness is one thing. Building greatness is something entirely different. Because from that moment forward, the real work began. The next chapter would take place thousands of miles away from Japan, in a quiet Canadian town called Oakville. A place where no cameras waited. A place where no crowds gathered. A place where dreams would be tested every single day. Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara made the life-changing decision to leave home and move to Canada. They left family behind. They left friends behind. They left everything familiar behind. And they placed their future in the hands of Bruno Marcotte. What followed would become a 7-year journey filled with sacrifice, uncertainty, setbacks, and belief. A journey that would eventually lead to the top of the world. But first, it would demand more from all 3 of them than they could possibly imagine. Moving to Oakville wasn't simply a change of training locations. It was a complete transformation of life itself. For Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara, Canada was a different world. Different language. Different culture. Different routines. Different expectations. Every morning they woke up far away from home, surrounded by unfamiliar faces and a future that remained uncertain. Yet if the move was difficult for the athletes, it also carried enormous responsibility for Bruno Marcotte. He wasn't just coaching skaters anymore. He was helping 2 young athletes build a life in a foreign country. He became far more than an instructor standing beside the rink. In many ways, he became a mentor, a guide, and sometimes even a parental figure. He understood that championships are not won solely through technical training. Athletes carry their emotions onto the ice. Fear follows them onto the ice. Loneliness follows them onto the ice. Confidence follows them onto the ice. If their lives away from skating fall apart, performances usually do too. Marcotte knew this better than anyone. That understanding shaped everything he did. Throughout those years, there was one message he repeated constantly. It wasn't a complicated strategy. It wasn't a secret training technique. It wasn't some revolutionary system that nobody else knew about. The message was simple. Stay positive. Again and again he returned to those words. Stay positive. At first glance, it sounds almost too simple. But simple advice often becomes the most powerful when life becomes difficult. There were days when progress seemed painfully slow. Days when new elements refused to work. Days when mistakes appeared over and over again. Days when frustration felt overwhelming. During those moments, Marcotte's voice remained steady. Stay positive. Keep moving forward. Trust the process. Believe in what you're building. Those words slowly became part of the team's identity. They weren't just instructions anymore. They became a mindset. Years later, both athletes would speak openly about how much those words meant to them. Kihara explained that Marcotte's philosophy of positivity became deeply embedded in the way they approached challenges. Miura often spoke about the trust she placed in her coach and how his guidance helped direct them toward better decisions. Their confidence in him wasn't built overnight. Trust never is. It developed through thousands of conversations, countless practices, and years of shared experiences. Over time, that trust became one of the strongest foundations of their partnership. There are many coaches who can teach technique. There are many who can explain jump mechanics, edge control, lifts, throws, and spins. The skating world is filled with technical experts. But the rarest coaches are those who know how to strengthen the human being behind the athlete. Marcotte belonged to that group. He understood that elite competition isn't simply physical. It's emotional. It's psychological. It's deeply personal. He taught them how to handle disappointment. He taught them how to respond to setbacks. He taught them how to stay focused when pressure became overwhelming. He taught them how to survive difficult days and continue believing in themselves. Those lessons would later become just as valuable as any technical skill they learned on the ice. One of the most revealing aspects of Marcotte's character could be seen in the way he talked about his athletes. When discussing Miura, he frequently described her as special. Not merely talented, not merely skilled, special. There was something unique about her determination, her presence, and her ability to grow. When speaking about Kihara, Marcotte often praised more than his skating ability. He talked about his character. He talked about his kindness. He talked about the quality of his heart. That says a lot about a coach. Many coaches evaluate athletes solely through results and performance. Marcotte saw the person first. The medals came second. His respect for them extended far beyond scores and rankings. He cared about who they were becoming as people. The years passed quietly in Oakville. While fans around the world watched competitions, most never saw the daily work happening behind the scenes. They didn't see the early mornings. They didn't see the exhausting repetitions. They didn't see the countless failed attempts that came before success. They didn't see the days when confidence disappeared. They didn't see the difficult conversations after disappointing performances. They didn't see the moments when progress felt invisible. But Marcotte saw all of it. Every step, every struggle, every breakthrough. He remained there through all of it. Then came the injuries. Every great sports story eventually encounters adversity, and this partnership was no exception. In 2022, disaster struck when Miura suffered a shoulder injury shortly before an important competition. For pair skaters, shoulders are critical. Lifts depend on them. Stability depends on them. Confidence depends on them. Suddenly, an injury threatened everything they had been building. Pain brought uncertainty. Uncertainty brought fear. Questions began to appear. How long would recovery take? Would she return at full strength? Would their momentum disappear? Moments like these reveal the true nature of a coach. Anyone can celebrate victories. Anyone can smile when medals are being won. The real test comes when things go wrong. Marcotte never panicked. He didn't rush recovery. He didn't push unrealistic timelines. Instead, he remained patient. He focused on healing. He focused on rebuilding. One day at a time. One step at a time. The goal wasn't simply returning to competition. The goal was returning stronger. Then another challenge arrived. In 2023, Kihara was diagnosed with lumbar spondylolysis, a serious lower back condition. For a male pair skater, the back is the foundation of everything. It absorbs enormous physical stress. Every lift, every throw, every catch places tremendous demands on the body. Suddenly, Kihara found himself facing uncertainty about his future. Competitions had to be missed. Training schedules were disrupted. Progress slowed dramatically. For athletes, injuries often create a unique kind of loneliness. The world continues moving while recovery feels painfully slow. Days become weeks. Weeks become months. Doubt begins to creep in. Questions become impossible to ignore. Will I come back? Will I be the same? Will my best days already be behind me? Once again, Marcotte became a stabilizing force. His message never changed. Stay positive. Keep believing. Don't give up. The words may have sounded simple, but they carried tremendous power because they came from someone who genuinely believed them. Athletes can sense authenticity. They know when encouragement is real and when it's empty. Marcotte's confidence never felt artificial. It felt genuine because he truly believed in the people standing before him. Every setback ultimately strengthened the bond between coach and athletes. Every challenge deepened their trust. Every difficult moment reinforced their commitment to one another. Instead of breaking under pressure, the relationship grew stronger. Slowly, the results began to appear. In 2021, they finished 10th at the World Championships. Not a podium result. Not international stardom. Just another step forward. Then came the 2022 Beijing Olympics, where they placed 7th. Again, not the result that would dominate headlines around the world. But progress was undeniable. One step, then another, then another. The public often sees championships as sudden achievements. They aren't. Championships are usually the result of hundreds of invisible improvements accumulated over years. Every difficult practice, every frustrating recovery session, every lesson learned from failure contributes to the final outcome. That process finally reached a historic breakthrough in 2023. Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara became world champions. For the first time in history, a Japanese pair stood at the top of the world. The achievement sent shockwaves through figure skating. For decades, conventional wisdom suggested Japan could dominate singles skating but would struggle to compete consistently in pairs. Marcotte and his athletes shattered that belief. They didn't just win a championship. They changed perceptions about what Japanese pair skating could become. 4 years had passed since Marcotte witnessed that first twist lift and recognized a spark of potential. Now that spark had become reality. The world could finally see what he had seen years earlier. Yet surprisingly, their greatest challenge still lay ahead. Because success creates a new kind of pressure. When you're chasing champions, expectations are low. When you become the champion, expectations become enormous. As the 2026 Winter Olympics approached in Milan Cortina, Miura and Kihara were no longer outsiders. They were no longer underdogs. They were no longer surprising anyone. They were favorites, gold medal favorites. World champions expected to win the biggest prize in the sport. And with those expectations came pressure unlike anything they had ever experienced before. Soon that pressure would push them to the brink. And it would set the stage for the most dramatic chapter of Bruno Marcotte's entire journey.